Well, hello everybody. My name is Lam. For today's video, we are going to be discussing about the second thing of calculus. So last week, I have talked a little bit about derivatives and integral in calculus. And so for today's week, we are going to be discussing about a brand new thing in calculus, which is limits, and also the importance of derivatives and integral, which I will be reviewing for today. So first, let's come through our most important thing, limits. Well, that is what we're focusing today. So let's dive in a little bit of it. So as you've heard the name, you probably understand what limit is, right? So basically, a limit is the value of a function or a sequence that approach the input or the output or index approaches some value. So that is just like a limit. So the limit of it is that you can't overpass it, and it's actually something that you can't just overpass. Alright, so that is basically what the definition of limit is. And here is our way to read it. This is the way so that we could represent it out and to denote it in words or like in casual functions like we normally do. So yeah, that is the basic definition of limit, which as I said is the value of a function or a sequence that could only approach in that input. And yeah, it can't be overpassed that limit. So let's look at some rules that runs limit. So first is continuity. So it's just like if a function is continuous, then that means that if the limit as x approach a, it equals the function value at a. So do you understand me? So it's just like continuity rule. It's just like if we have x for the output of our function. Alright? My pen is a little bit light. So here x is the value of our function. And we have a as the limit. So that means it could only just reach a. Yeah, just like that. So that is about the continuity point. Next is a little bit about limit laws. So of course, everything else has its laws, right? So limit laws includes the limit of sums, difference, and products, quotients, and composite functions. So that is basically what you could find in limit laws. It rules how the limits runs in our life. And yeah, it's basically about the sums of different quotients and limits. And let's look at some of its application in math, business, actuary, and daily life. So first, in math, you could see that it has a lot of interesting things. So for example, in math, or basically just here in calculus, you could see that limit has a lot of uses, especially on how you calculate a calculus equation. Alright, so imagine you have a function, yeah, and so it could usually be used to analyze the behavior of the output so that we could make sure that we could follow the laws of limit and the continuity law so that our product will reach its maximum or its minimum size that we want. So that is basically a small example of its applications in mathematics. Next, in business. So in business, especially in actuary, how can we apply here? So it could be used to solve different kinds of problems. So in business, for example, if you see limits in calculus, it will help you to calculate or to optimize the amount of production or the amount of operations that your company should have. And so that's basically what can limit how our business actually progress. And lastly, in daily life, so what could it be used? Well, it could be used in applying the natural phenomenons, such as it could be used to predict the weather or something like that. So yeah, it's actually really crucial. So now let's take a little review of derivatives and integrals. So first about derivatives. So what is its definition? The derivatives means it represents the rates at which function is changing at any given point. So what do I mean here? If we change the input how much, then it will change the output. And so that's basically that. And we denote it like this way, in this way. Here, you could take a look at it. Alright, so let's look at some of its rules. So derivatives has lots of rules, but I just want to mention three of the most important here. First is power rule. It is basically the rules that runs derivatives. So yeah, next is product rule, and last is chain rule. These are really crucial to understand and to be able to use derivatives if you want to. Alright, and let's look at some of its applications. First, in mathematics. So what can it be used? Just as what I said before, in mathematics, it could be used to calculate how could the output change if we change the value of the input. And so that's actually something really, really crucial if we want to compare and contrast different kinds of products given in basic kind of sequence or a function. Next, in business actually, and it could be used in actual models to make sure that the sensitivity of insurance products and financial instrument and it changes. So what do I mean here? If we use derivatives in these real life problems, then we could help to calculate how would maybe insurance or a finance operations changes in our life. Lastly, in daily life. So in daily life, it could be used to calculate the speed or calculate the amount of product, just like that. Alright, and lastly is integral. So what is it actually? Integral is usually used to calculate the area of the part under the curve in the functions. So just like in calculus, you could see that sometimes they graph it out so it will be easier to calculate. And so by using integral, then we could calculate the curves and calculate the area of the curve of it, so that the area of the part under the curve of it, so we could make sure that we understand it easier. And it is denoted in this way. Alright, so it has a lot of basic rules, such as fundamental theorem in calculus. It could also have integrals by substitution and integral by parts. So what are its applications? In math, as I've said before, in math it could be used to calculate the area under the curves in different kinds of functions. Next is in business actually. So it could be used to easily calculate or to optimize the operations or optimize the support in different kinds of parts. And so in daily life, it could be used in a lot of situations that help us through all different kind of aspects in life. So after this talk, I have mentioned as limits and also reviewed about derivatives and integral. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.